Good morning. How is everybody? Good. My name is Penni Weninger, and I am a retired GRCC employee. And how many of you are sitting out there saying, oh geez, there's another old fart standing up front telling me what to do with my life? How many? Good, okay. You know what? Usually people don't respond like that because you're all from West Michigan and you're all really polite. I am a Jersey girl and I say it like I see it. So thank you for your honesty. Actually, I'm here because I have had a very long and interesting career, and throughout that career, I have really enjoyed helping people to find jobs and launch careers. My jobs have always had something to do with hiring, whether it's been in human resources or a manager or sitting on a hiring team. And of course, all of that job process depends on really good business communication. And one of the things, by the way, I just want to do a little public service announcement here, and that is the reason that I'm 64 and I've been able to retire is largely due in part to the fact that 100 million years ago, I forced myself to get a bachelor's degree, even though I had no clue about what I wanted to do with my life. 6 years, 4 majors. It was a long journey, but you know, that degree opened doors that I never knew existed. I wound up working, of all places, in the casino industry, in VIP casino marketing. And I had a long and very fun career with a lot of good stories that I hope to write someday. So what I want to say to you is that I give you all props for being here. Being a college student is not as easy as some people like to just blow it off as being. And I want to encourage all of you to stick with it. Get that AA, get that certificate, whatever it is that you're working on. A lot of reasons for that. First of all, it's yours. No one can ever take it away from you. Secondly, employers will look at you, especially earlier in your careers, and they will say, this is a person who is educable and who had a goal and completed it. That's a good bet for somebody that I want to hire. And the third thing is, if you don't know what you're going to do, you're not sure, at least you have a basis. You have a basis that is a building block for more education. Despite the fact that I got a bachelor's degree, I still went back to community college twice in my life. So there you have it. So let's get back to why I am here. The theme of this conference is who cares, why bother? And I'm here to tell you that there are a lot of people out in this world that are in my generation that are still making decisions that impact your lives. And I think that we have lost the basics of good communication, to be quite honest with you. What happened? You know, we used to write. Way back in the Stone Ages, before we had technology, we used to write. We had to write letters. So you had a certain etiquette, a set of certain standards. You had manners, you had salutations and closings. And they would teach us from the time we knew how to write a letter. And that was enforced all throughout our schooling. And what happened in the 80s, all of a sudden there's this core curriculum and teachers are teaching to the test, and a lot of these standards got lost. There wasn't a lot of room in a curriculum to teach people good grammar and good punctuation and etiquette in writing. And so that sort of went by the wayside. And then the next decade, boom, here is the internet. And suddenly everyone is communicating at lightning speed, and there's really no time and no opportunity to implement standards of communication, right? So people are just boom, boom, boom. When we were writing letters, you had to write the letter, you had to copy the letter, you had to put it in an envelope and put it in a mailbox and wait. Who knows what the word wait means? It's a novel concept, right? But the point is now we think of something, and it's out there. And unfortunately, a lot of these standards of communication bit the dust with technology, and a lot of times it took common sense and thought with them. There was a reason for this communication, and it's because there are people on both sides of it. There's the sender and the receiver. And who are we? We're human beings, and a lot of times we don't think about that. We have our reasons for communicating, and we lose sight of the fact that there's somebody, a person on the other side who is getting that mail. So that's what I want to kind of help you get back to today. because I have seen, especially my last job here was in human resources, and what I noticed over the past few years was how many really wonderful, competent, caring, qualified people were being hidden behind terrible business communication practices. So let's just review, just as basics here. There's two types of communication. There's personal communication, which we use with friends and people that we know, and family, and people that we already have relationships with. And then there's business communication, where why are we communicating? Why are we emailing somebody? Who has sent out an email today? Anybody? No emails today? They. Okay. So why would? Okay, Michelle. So that is one reason why you might be sending emails, right? You send business and professional emails. Why? Because you need something, because you want something. So you might be sending an email to Professor Allen because you need an extra day on this assignment because you had the flu, or because you need clarification on something. You might be looking for a job, so you're going to be communicating with people who can help you get that job. You might be a parent, and you're trying to communicate about your child's progress in school with their teacher. You might be looking for a donation for the soccer team. Whatever it is, you want something, and that is what generates this communication, all right? So there's three ways that we communicate. One is in person, and we don't have as much of that as we used to. Here in college, there is a lot of that. You're able to drop into an office somewhere, at your convenience. And it's set up that way because we want students to be able to get the services they need when they need them, because everybody has different schedules. And you might go to Target and you have something to return. But there's not a lot of walk-in stuff anymore, so we're not going to focus on that too much today. The second thing is the telephone. How many people in here like to use the phone? No kidding, or actually two people. I'm talking about talking on the phone. Does that change it? You like to talk on the phone? Good for you. Most people don't. We have 40 people in here, and 3 people said they like to talk on the phone. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it is a business tool, and we have to make peace with it. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the basic way that we communicate is still writing, only now it's an email, right? So we're going to talk about that in depth. Not just about email, but the way we write our emails. Was anyone here for Professor Alexander's presentation a little bit ago on email? Okay, you may hear some repetition. We actually got together to make sure we weren't going to make you hear everything twice. But she had some interesting points, one of which is that professional people spend about 25% of their day reading emails. And she, as a professor here, she has, at any given time, 50 to 80 emails in her mailbox that need to be addressed. When I was in human resources, I would have 100 a day. That was an average. That's in addition to all of the telephone calls. So there was a lot of communication going on. And what do you do when you have 100 emails in your box and you need to look at all of them? Well, you prioritize, right? And that includes wading through emails like this one. And I promise you, every email you see up here is real. I actually received it. I whitewashed it. You'll never know who sent it or when, but it's a real email. So does somebody want to tell me who this person is and what they want? Anybody? A guess? Exactly my point. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking there. This is somebody I don't know. She's sending an email to me about Sweet Girl 145. The subject is a letter, and here you go. L's letter. What is that? Now, there's another factor to this, too. Am I really going to open that attachment? Maybe it is a virus. Who's this? I have no idea who this is. So this is the kind of emails that I would get on a regular basis, believe it or not. And then this is the one that launched this whole presentation that I do to classes, this presentation that we're doing right now. Once upon a time, there was a student employee, and this guy applied for every single entry-level position that was posted at JRCC. And he would send the same resume, and it wasn't a good one. And he wouldn't send a cover letter, even though that was in the instructions on how to apply. Now, I see this guy applying, and he's never getting an interview. And I'm thinking, you know, we educate people here in their disciplines, but we also, you know, they can use a hand in taking that education and doing something with it. So I called the guy. I had a nice conversation with him. He's a nice guy. And we talked about how he should build up his resume. You know, he's applying for a job here at the college. He's already working here at the college. So you want to emphasize the fact that you know the systems and you know the people and the processes. And by the way, if anyone has a job hunt on their landscape, let me recommend that you be here tomorrow at 12:30. Christine Kuhn from the Human Resources Department has a panel, and they're presenting on resumes and cover letters, and it's really good stuff, very much worth your while. Okay, so anyway, I get done, and we're on the phone for quite some time, and he's really grateful. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you send this back to me before this job posting expires, I will put your new document up and take the other one down. Okay, very fine. My week goes on, 100 emails a day, 500 emails later, right? Lots of phone calls. And this is what I get. All right? And I don't know who this is. Sparty. Who is Sparty? I don't know who this person is, right? Tell me about this email. What would you think about this email? Anybody have any impressions? Well, now we know that this is from Sparty, okay, because I'm telling the story here. But when I was reading this, I didn't know. Does it say what it's about? Yes, it's about a cover letter and a resume. Well, everyone's email is about their cover letter and their resume, right? Does that help me? No. Do I know who Sparty is? No. And what does Sparty say? Hey, could you swap this out? Hey. What is this? No name, no dear. What is he talking about? I have to go and research this, okay? So it goes in my to-do pile because I don't have time right now to go and open it up and figure it out who it is and what he wants. Well, by the time I did that, it was the end of the day, and I open it up. And lo and behold, it's this guy that I talked to. And he has this really great resume. And he has this really great cover letter. Would you ever know that from this email? Would you ever know that? Would you imagine? I mean, how about a please and a thank you? You are wanting something. You want a job. You want me to help you get the job. You want me to replace this document for you. How about a please? How about a thank you? How about who you are? How about how I can get in touch with you? And how about referring to our conversation? That would all help me help you. That's what I want you to keep in mind when we're talking about business communication. How can you make it easier for the person that is receiving your communication to help you get what you want? That's very simple. So I said to this guy, guess what? The posting is expiring tomorrow. I want you to, I said, I did an email to him, and I started banging out all of, not only all of these points, but all the frustrations that have been building up over the 5 years that I'm in this job, because I'm seeing this all the time. And that's actually a lot of what we're going to talk about today. I said, resend this email, resend your document, do it before the posting expires. Because what happens if I have to forward this email on? Okay, so here's some of the stuff that I gave to this, input that I gave to this gentleman. The whole thing is respect. The way to engage somebody is to respect them. Does anybody know, anybody familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of human needs? Okay, so what's on the bottom?
Like the physiological needs.
Right.
Like food, water, shelter.
Yep. And then? What comes next? Yeah, you're good. Are you psych major?
No, I'm business.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. You need to know this stuff.
Yes.
And then
love, or
Mhm.
like affection or whatever, and then esteem, and then self-actualization.
That's it.
Yep.
And in that esteem part, the minute you start getting it out of that really personal relationship stuff, that esteem part, it comprises confidence and it comprises respect. Giving respect and getting respect. The way to engage with somebody is to respect them, to respect who they are, their position, and their time. So I have to apologize. I am not a professor, and I don't do this all the time, so I have to refer to my notes, and sometimes I get lost. The first thing is politeness counts. Please and thank you. This is obvious. These are things that you know that you grew up with, but sometimes we're so focused on content that we forget about the delivery. Appropriate salutation. This can get tricky. Well, I see that there are people that are not freshmen directly out of high school here, so I'm going to assume that most of us know what the word Ms. is, MS period, and we're not talking manuscript. Does everybody know what Ms. is? Okay, I see a couple of puzzled looks. If you don't know someone and you're just beginning to communicate with them, you need to assume the formality. So you want to say, "Dear Ms. Weninger." You don't know me yet. You will after we're done, then you can call me Penny. But you don't know me, Ms. Weninger. All right? If you're sending an email to this gentleman right here, it would be Mr. Lukey, okay? So Mr. Lukey is a man, and you are?
Miss Volpetti.
Miss Volpetti. Now, Miss Volpetti, Miss indicates that Miss Volpetti is not yet married. Mrs. Allen indicates that Mrs. Allen is married. So what happened is, in the 1970s, when the women's liberation movement was evolving, women started saying, it shouldn't matter, it does not matter whether I am married or not. I am who I am. So they developed MS period, Ms., to indicate a female person. And we have been using that as the default business address in email since that time. Now it gets a little tricky now because now we're talking about a time when gender is starting to play a role here. Okay, some people don't want to be a Ms. or a Mr. Some people have their own pronouns, and we can't yet know what those are. For purposes until those things are established, we would probably stick to Mr. and Ms. or doctor if somebody has a title. If you don't know the person's gender or you're uncomfortable dealing with that, it's perfectly fine to write, "Dear Penni Weninger." It's not as personal, but HR uses this. Sometimes that's helpful if the name is from a different culture and you're not sure which is the right way to say that. So you can be creative. The best way to do this, and a bonus, is to go online. Find out who you're writing to. You can find somebody on their website. You can find them in LinkedIn. And that way, if it really is a doctor and you want to be impressive, you can say, "Dear Dr. Germs." You know, it's to your benefit to do that. Identifiable email address, we talked about that. If you're calling me up and you're referencing something because we're trying to get an interview for you and you want me to find your email, am I going to look for Sparty? No, I'm going to look for Michelle Allen. The same with the subject line. Be descriptive. Help me. Help me know what it is that you want. Because I'm going through those 100 emails. Do you want to be at the bottom? No. A clear objective. This is what I need. Reference previous interaction. We talked about this last week. You asked me to drop you another email to remind you. It's all very helpful. And include your contact information every time. You know, so you're emailing with somebody and your email address is kind of right up there. They can hover over it if they want. But if you write, your name at the bottom and you put your email, somebody can copy and paste that into another email, and maybe forward your resume or your request onto somebody who can help you. And include a telephone number, all right? Because a telephone is a tool, and they're going to use it. People will use it. So make it easy for somebody to do that. And finally, this is one that is a little controversial, but sorry, devices off when you are in person with somebody. I'm going to tell you a story. Before I worked in human resources, I worked at the Center for Teaching Excellence, Faculty Professional Development. So I worked from 9 to 5, and I am not the kind of person that just leaves at 5 o'clock. This particular day, I had an appointment right after work, and it's about 5 to 5, and a young man walks into my office up to my desk, and he said, I have to register for a course, and they sent me here. And I said, I sort of assumed. I said, you must mean the enrollment center. That's on the first floor. And he said, no, I'm not a student. I'm an adjunct. He said, and I need to take a course. I said, oh, cool. You know, welcome. I'm new. We get into a little chat. So I said, what's your name? And he tells me, and I start looking up. And I said, what course are you looking at taking? And he said, well, I have to take a couple of them. Oh, excuse me. So I'm okay. So he comes back. He says, I'm sorry. Where were we? I said, well, we were looking at your courses. Well, I need to take this one. I need to take this one. So I looked this up. I said, okay, there's a session for this one on Thursday, which is better. Well, let me think. Excuse me. And I'm looking at the clock, and it's 5 after 5, and I am late. And I'm getting a little irked, right? So the third time it happened, I was really patient. I said to him, look, with all due respect, I said, I am past my workday. I said, I'm happy to help you, but do you realize that you are putting me on hold in person while you're talking to somebody else? You know, he was mortified. He didn't even realize it. And that is the problem, is that we don't realize that we are so glued to these phones that, God forbid, we should miss a text from somebody and not answer it right away. So there is a different, and you might be able to multitask. You might be able to focus on two things at one time. May and can are two different things. You can do that, you may not do that. That is the most disrespectful thing, regardless of what time of day. You are asking for somebody's time and attention and help. Put the phone away. Thank you very much for letting me be on that soapbox. Okay, so any questions so far? I know I just keep going and going. Please don't hesitate to jump in with a question or a comment. You may disagree on some of this stuff.
Just gonna adjust your microphone.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, everybody. I just need to adjust this. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So now, here's another thing we have to do. We have to establish credibility, right? So these are all pretty, they're pretty obvious when you stop to think of them. And that's the purpose of this, is to encourage you to stop and think of what you're writing, okay? Avoid casual language. No place in business communication. Ditch the quotations at the bottom of your signature. Oh my gosh. It's really nice to know your philosophy of life, but I don't, you know, you're asking me to help you solve a customer service problem. I do not need to know that I should be happy about my life. And here's another thing too. I want to caution you. I know that there are many people who are deeply embedded in their faith and that they would like to spread that joy with people. But religious quotes have no place in business communication. You may be applying for a job at a Christian bookstore. Maybe that's different. But I cannot tell you how many times I have seen this in emails. People are looking for a job. Now, you may be a very devout and happy and fulfilled Christian, but the person who might be reading that email could be Jewish, could be Muslim, could be Baha'i, could be anything, could be an atheist. And that expression could very easily make somebody feel excluded and just make this little thing happen in somebody's stomach. You know what I mean? So that's not a good reaction. You don't want to divulge that much personal information in a business email. Emojis, ellipses, out. This is not casual communication. Check your punctuation and capitalization. And don't write like you speak. It's not the same. You all know that. How many people in here are writers? One writer? Okay. Still, you know the difference between verbal communication and written communication. If you read, and watch your tone. Read that email before you send it. Read it out loud to yourself. Because, you know, going back to Sparty's email, hey, you know, I could walk up to you and I could say, hey, how are you? Or, hey, or any other types of expression. I open that email and it's like, hey, switch out that document. Is that going to get a good reaction from me? Am I going to help that person? Think about that. Relationships have broken up. How many of you have ever sent an email that got taken the wrong way and had an issue with it? Yeah. Okay. Point. All right. So, and here's some, I also, for this presentation, I also get input from people out in the business community. A friend of mine is a recruiter, and this is what she said. And this is the why bother part, okay? When we're online and we're communicating or we're texting, are you coming today? Are you coming today? That doesn't work here. Obviously, we're all grown-ups and we know we have to do better than that. But grammar, punctuation, it counts. And if you're not good, if you're not strong at that, get some help. Because my friend, the recruiter, was talking about, I won't read it, but I'll just tell you that she passed over somebody for a machine operator position because his grammar was awful in his email and in his phone conversations. And she said, you might not think that that would be important for a machine operator. She said, but first of all, it tells me how he communicates with people. And secondly, I have to forward that email onto the hiring manager. What is that manager going to think of my standards if I recommend a person who can't communicate? So remember, it's not just who's getting it, but who may be getting it on down the line. Okay. Any questions so far? Comments? Is everybody still awake? Say hello. No, thank you. Okay. All right. I hope this is helpful. So a few days later, I get, actually the next day, because the posting was closing, I get this email. Better? Did he get almost every point we talked about? Yes. Smart cookie. Good guy, good resume. Guess what? He got the interview, he got the job, and he works here. And no, you'll never know who he is. But the point was, we never knew who he was because he hid behind that awful original email. All right? Okay, so this is what happens after you send the email. Now you have to be realistic. Are you guys okay back there? Okay. First of all, we talked about the telephone. You have to make peace with voicemail and phone as a communication. Try to answer your phone. Nobody answers the phone anymore. Okay, you don't know who it is. It could be a telemarketer. I get it. But if you put out an email, if you put out communication to somebody because you want something, it's now incumbent on you to check your incoming resources. That means not only check your email every day and check your voicemail every day, but listen to the voicemail. I cannot tell you, pet peeve of my life. So back in the HR office, right, getting 100 emails all day long, getting 100 phone calls all day long. Somebody calls back and says, somebody called me from this number. Okay, who called you? Well, I don't know, but somebody called me from this number. Well, this number shows up on 13 people's telephones. There's 13 people in this office, and they all do something different. Who are you? What do you want? Now, I have to play 20 questions to try to figure out who this person is. When, in fact, it finally got to the point where I said politely, please hang up and go check your voicemail and then call back, because then I'll be able to help you get where you need to go. Somebody, you reach out for somebody, they take the time to call you back, and you're not even taking the time to listen to the time that they gave you. Not cool. All of this contributes to how a person is judging you, how I'm judging you. Here's the thing. I was the one that collected all of the applications. I didn't have anything to do with whether somebody got hired or not. That all went, I passed everything on to people. But they would come to me and they'd say, did you talk to this person on the phone? Did you have any interaction? You have any impressions? Yeah, I do. I do. Somebody called me from this number. Okay. Leave full information in your voicemail. A lot of people assume that their phone number is going to be on caller ID. Oh, sure it is, along with the other 99 people who called me today. So I would get calls like, hi, this is Joe Jones, and I'm returning Penny's call, and I'm all ready for my interview. Please call me back. I'm waiting. Okay, fine. What's your phone number? This person automatically assumed that technology was going to give me his phone number. No. Now I have to go back. I have to look back in my files. I have to open up. It's a pain in the neck. Why would you make it difficult for somebody to help you, right? Okay. The other thing is, be aware of time frames. If you sent an email to somebody at 2 a.m., don't expect that they're going to have read it by 8 just because 6 hours have gone by, right? Professor Alexander told me that she's often up late, she's grading papers, and she might respond to a couple of student emails late at night. And so people think she's up and working and available. So if they send her an email at 2 o'clock, she's going to answer it at 3. Not so. You need to allow a day or two for an email or a voicemail to come back to you, somebody that you're reaching out to, all right? If it has not come back to you in a couple of days, if you've sent out an email and you feel as though you should have heard something, that's a good time for the phone. I sent an email, or you might send another email, but be careful of your tone. You don't want to be a pain in the neck. But it's really good to have some idea of what the time frames are. Most of our professors will be giving you their response time in your syllabus. Okay, so pay attention to that too. And finally, don't expect people to be communicating with you by text. They may, for some reason, you may have their cell phone number. That does not mean that you can be texting and that they're going to answer you. That's a personal thing, and it crosses a border for some people. So please don't expect that. I would never give my personal phone number to an applicant. Why would this person need my phone number for one interaction? But now it's out there, right? Any questions here? Okay. So we've done our email, we've gotten what we want, and now there's another part of communication, because now let's assume, and I'm doing a lot of this from the human resources angle because this is where I lived, but now you're coming in, okay? Now you've had email or phone communication, and now it's time to meet somebody. So here is another part of communication. Our image, our physical appearance, our voice, and not necessarily our physical voice, but our voice is the way we express ourselves in words. And our footprint, which is the impression that we leave on people. So, do you know how long it takes for somebody to make an initial impression of someone else? 7 seconds. People size each other up in 7 seconds. So when you're going for a job interview or you're going to an appointment where you are looking for something, you need something or you want something, you really need to think about how you present yourself. And the first way is in physical appearance. Now, before we go there, I want people to completely understand, I want to be crystal clear, I am not talking about facial structure, skin color, body type. Those are things that we are born with, and that's who we are. I'm talking about choices. I'm talking about clothing, hairstyles, facial hair, cleanliness, accessories, makeup. How do you present yourself to the world, okay? Which of these people would you hire for a job? It's time to interact. Good. Exactly. It does depend on what job. What kind of a job do you think that this person over here would be looking for? Office? Receptionist? Right? Something professional, something in a professional setting, an attorney, a financial advisor. How about this person over here? A tattoo artist? Okay, what else? Circus? Okay. Who else did I miss? Entertainment? Okay. Maybe an esthetician. Maybe in an art gallery. Maybe a college professor, if it were a real liberal college and that encouraged self-expression, all right? So why do we limit this person to those particular kind of jobs? Moreover, why is she limiting herself to those types of jobs? Here's the deal. What happened? Uh-oh. Okay. What happens 10 years down the road? Person on the left, she's been an attorney, she makes a lot of money. Now she decides she wants to go be a roller derby team manager. Okay? Person on the right is the roller derby team manager. She is creating that vacancy because she's worked with a lot of people in the community and in the street, and she's decided she wants to be an attorney now. She wants to be a public defender and work with people who don't have a lot of money to navigate the legal system. So what happens? She goes to school and she gets her legal degree. And now she goes for a job. What do these people have to do in order to switch their careers? What does the lady over there need to do to become a roller derby manager, assuming she's had some experience? Loosen up a little bit, right? Change her appearance, okay? Change her clothes, relax, have fun. What does this person have to do to change her appearance? She can't. She's made a permanent decision about her appearance that may impact her life way down the line. No judgment here. This is absolutely gorgeous artwork. But the thing is, let's say I am the human resources person in the county, and I get a resume from this person, and this person wants to work in the public defender's office, and I'm looking at this resume, I'm saying, wow, interesting background. Roller derby manager, and then working with all of these community organizations, and she aced her classes in law school. She sounds like a really interesting person, right? Now I call her in for an interview. Holy cow. Because I'm trying not to make a judgment, but here's the thing. I have to consider when this person is going to be up in front of a jury presenting the case of one of our clients, of a community member, is that jury going to be focusing on the case that she's presenting? Or is that jury going to be focused on this gorgeous blue on her eyelids? Are they going to be distracted by that? So my point to you is this. There are other ways to express yourself through your appearance. This lady right here, her clothes are kind of funky. She's got an attitude. I like her. I'm probably going to hire her, all right? But she's still she's interesting and she's individual, but she is not out on another universe. I don't have to worry about how she'll relate to people. This woman here, she easily goes from jeans to professional, all by use of her clothing and her accessories and her hairstyles. Here's a bunch of men. Everybody is individual. Everybody has this really cool hairstyle. You know, if it comes time for a shift in life, all they have to do is grow it out or cut it in a different way. And here's a person, this is a guy who also has gorgeous artwork, right? he's expressing himself, but he has the option of putting on a long sleeve shirt when he goes for his interview in the public defender's office, so that the person who is talking to him gets to talk to him and the person inside him, and is not distracted by what they see. Now, 2 years down the line, the guy's working, he's great, he's good at his job, everybody knows him, they have the summer picnic, he whips off his shirt to go swimming, and they're like, wow, look at that ink, that's really cool. Different story, they know him already, okay? So my bottom line here is be careful about the decisions that you make with your appearance and make sure that they are not permanent. The next thing we talk about is our voice. I'm not, again, not talking about physical voice, talking about the words that we use. Please read this email. What kind of voice is that? This person is emailing human resources because they want something. Now, you're me, and you're reading these emails, and you have 100 emails. Where is this one going to fall on your priority list? Last, exactly. Why? Because of the tone. She didn't read what she wrote. She couldn't have read what she wrote. If she did, she's got a real attitude problem, and her problems are bigger than we can solve here. But she didn't, look, GVSU. She sent it to Human Resources at GRCC. She didn't even think to look at what she wrote. And now she's like, ooh, well, listen, I called last week and nobody followed up with me, and I'd hate not to get a job because you didn't call me back. Hello? Okay. So now, this email could get forwarded. I could say, oh, that's not my department. I don't switch out. I don't change that information. I have to send it to somebody who does. Now I'm going to tick somebody else off. Do you think this person, if this person ever does come in for an interview and I have to deal with her and I have to set up her appointment, how cooperative am I going to be? This is what we have to be careful of. We said we only have a couple of writers in here, but writers spend hours and hours and hours on dialogue, on their characters, trying to develop a character by virtue of the words that they use, and this is what we're talking about. Any questions so far? Comments? Arguments? Okay. Finally, would you hire this person? Okay, we're talking about our footprint. We're talking about the impression that we make and the impression that we leave. If you ever put anything on the internet and somebody says to you, oh, you can delete it, it's not true. You can't ever delete it. It's out there. Somebody's going to share it. It's in somebody's secret files. The point is that you have to be careful in your young years when you are formulating a life about the footprint that you leave. Everyone looks at your stuff. Everybody looks at what you write. Okay. I'm looking at my last page. Okay. And lest you think that it's not cool for people to look at your social media profiles or what you've written, think again. 70% of employers look on social media before they invite you in for an interview or before they give you a job. And half of them, 54%, do not hire people because of all this information that they find out on social media or on the internet. And let me just point out, see if this works. Yeah, okay. They badmouth their previous company or fellow employee. You might just have a really bad day at work, come home and say, that boss of mine. Don't ever do that. Someone here at the college actually got fired many years ago for badmouthing their supervisor online. Lied about qualifications, poor communication skills in a social media post. So here's another reason why this is valuable. What else? The screen name was unprofessional. Sound familiar? Sparty? Sweet girl? Lied about an absence. yes, I'm sick today, I'm not coming in. And then pictures of you on the ski slopes, not really good. Post it too frequently. That wouldn't bother me, but maybe that bothers some people. So this is actually a survey taken by Career Builder last year, recently. So take this stuff to heart. And finally, I'm going to show you a quote from a famous person, very wise person, wise quote, prior to the internet. Does anybody know who this famous person is? Nobody knows this person? It's my mother. She did, when I was 10 years old, she had written a letter. She wrote a letter to a family member, and it got into the wrong hands, and it created a family rift for many years. My mom learned a very valuable lesson. All right? And by the way, that's a glamour shot from the 1980s. She really didn't walk around looking like that, and she wasn't a movie star. Anyway, that's basically what I have to tell you. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Okay, well, so the whole point of this whole presentation, listen to your mother, okay? And I just want to say that one thing that I do for students here is I have written my email address down, and what I am happy to do is to take a look at a resume that you've got and give you some input. I'm not going to rework it for you, but I will give you some input. Yes? How many times in your 2 sentences did you say like, and you know? You said that, right? We can have this, and I'm saying right? We can have this conversation verbally. Are you going to write that down? Are you going to write that down when you're talking to somebody? Are you going to say, you know, like this? You're not. It's a different kind of communication. So be confident in what you are writing and read it out loud to yourself. And you pretend that you are the person on the other end that has what I want. I want this from you. How is that going to sound? Am I answering your question? No. Yes? In other words, there's more formal writing and formal communication, and there's informal communication.
We're not proofreading ourselves, but once you write, like whenever I write out an email, I'm going to check that before I send it out.
That's right. And read it like you're reading something that is written, not like you are speaking. Thank you very much for having me.